Up next, and every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, tune in to Grand Theft Auto Biographies with Guinness Walker. And don't forget Grand Theft Auto Geographies, Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern. Only on Weazel, confirming your prejudices.
Warning, this program is entirely fictional and made by a sole Canadian man. All characters and events in the show, including the host, even those that are based on real people, are entirely fictional. The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
America. The land of the free. Home of the brave. And the stupid. And the criminally insane. The United States has seen its fair share of gangbangers,
We blast!
mobsters,
Well.
and psychotics
Oh, how you like that, you piece of shit?
who've roamed our beloved streets, causing untold chaos, destruction, and corruption. Tonight on Grand Theft Auto Biographies. Authority,
I took the trash out. I did.
manipulation,
Yo, Carl, pay the man.
and self-preservation.
I got a fire truck to catch.
These are the tools and guiding principles of tonight's subject. A man whose notorious time as a crooked police officer for the LSPD's infamous C.R.A.S.H division helped shape the city he controlled for the worse. We will see the abuse, death, and destitution that a single police unit was capable of raining down upon the gangbangers of Central Los Santos and the man in charge of the entire operation. An officer of the law who saw fit to prioritize maintaining his power and remaining in charge over any obligation to protect and serve the communities he terrorized, and whose own delusional aspirations caused the downfall of the LSPD's gang-busting operations during the 1990s and forever tainted the reputation of police departments in San Andreas even to this day. Officer Frank Tenpenny. This episode of Grand Theft Auto Biographies brought to you by my incredible supporters on Patreon. Sign up today to get all the music from my shows, early access, and a spot in the credits. Thank you for watching. As has become a theme here on GTA Biographies, the early life of Frank Tenpenny is covered in black ink and citations needed from the various criminals, police officers, and citizens we were able to speak to regarding his rise through the ranks of the LSPD and the life he lived before joining the force, which Tenpenny worked hard to keep ambiguous. According to our research, Frank Tenpenny was most likely born in the late 1940s or early 1950s, and by 1992 he would gain most of his notoriety while around the age of 44, though the exact dates remain inconclusive. It is the speculation of this program that Frank himself likely grew up in and around gang territory of one of the many gangs ruling Los Santos at the time, many of whom are still around in some capacity to this day. There are even some who believe that Tenpenny may have had some formal or informal connection to the Ballas gang, due to his own connections with them later on, and his shared hatred for the gangsters of Grove Street families, particularly the Johnson clan, who've been running the gang since at least the mid-1980s. All we know for certain is that at some point, Frank Tenpenny decided to join the LSPD, and began serving the department and helping to deal with the city's growing gang problem. Although we must stress, the exact details of Tenpenny's early time in the academy and subsequent time on the streets is incredibly vague, and many believe the information was covered up due to the many controversies that would come to surround Officer Tenpenny, which we will get to later in tonight's episode. We also believe that Tenpenny was married to a woman, although any further details remain vague, and it is entirely possible that in fact Frank simply enjoyed joking about having a wife while remaining single and untethered to any one person. Something which seems increasingly likely given Frank's tendency to close himself off to anyone who tried to get close to him, regardless of who they were or his relationship to them. Another detail of Frank's early life and career as a police officer which remains unclear is exactly when he first became corrupted. It is possible that Tenpenny initially joined the force with a genuine desire to clean up the streets and make a safer city for himself, but many believe that Tenpenny's motivations from the get-go were simply to continue accruing power and influence, as we previously speculated. Some even contend that Tenpenny may have gone from gangbanger himself to police officer, in order to continue terrorizing, intimidating, and murdering others with a government seal of approval. Whatever the case, by the early 1990s, Frank Tenpenny had risen through the ranks of his local department and become head of an experimental crime unit tasked with managing the city's gang crisis, and by 1992 he had recruited and indoctrinated fellow officer, Eddie Pulaski, into his line of thinking, and begun taking the fight to the streets. Also by 92, Tenpenny and Pulaski would bring on a new recruit to the C.R.A.S.H division, Jimmy Hernandez, and slowly begin to open his eyes and reveal the true purpose of their unit to the fresh face. Though Hernandez would initially be under the impression that he was going to be on the front line in a war against the gangs of Los Santos, he would quickly learn from Tenpenny that he was nothing more than a tool to his bosses, and Frank would make it explicitly clear that Hernandez would have to toe the line or face the consequences of defying his authority. By this time in Tenpenny's career, he and Pulaski had begun aligning themselves with the Ballas gang, and Frank was orchestrating, or at least participating in, the largest crack cocaine epidemic in the city's history by allowing the controlled sale of drugs while taking a cut from the suppliers. At some point in 92, although it's possible the discovery was made earlier, a straight-laced LSPD officer named Ralph Pendlebury, who was working for the department's Internal Affairs Division, would learn of the crooked methods C.R.A.S.H was using in their war on crime, and particularly learn the truth about Tenpenny's involvement in the drug trade. Pendlebury would threaten Tenpenny and Pulaski with revealing what he'd learned to Internal Affairs, but Frank would opt to let the situation solve itself when a new opportunity to circumvent the consequences of his actions presents itself. With a long-standing hatred for Grove Street families, main rivals to the Ballas, likely due to their firm anti-drug stance, Tenpenny would begin working to corrupt the gang from the inside out, by offering a deal to high-ranking GSF member Melvin Big Smoke Harris, who in turn brings on Grove Street Lieutenant Lance Ryder Wilson. Tenpenny would allow Big Smoke to head the Ballas' drug operation in secret, and task Smoke with helping to organize a hit on then-leader of the GSF, Sean Sweet Johnson. But when the hit is botched and the Johnson matriarch Beverly is killed instead, the first domino in Tenpenny's downfall would topple, when her death ushers the return of Grove Street Lieutenant and brother to Sweet, Carl C.J. Johnson. While some believe that Tenpenny in actuality ordered the death of Sweet and Beverly in a deliberate attempt to lure Carl Johnson back to the city, this remains unclear, and it is this program's contention that it was Tenpenny's aim to eliminate Sweet for his stance against drugs harming his operation, and that the events surrounding Carl's subsequent return were simply, at the time, a convenient excuse for Tenpenny, who had already had a long-standing hatred for the Johnsons and Carl in particular. Whatever Tenpenny's motivations or intentions in the death of Beverly Johnson, he would use Carl's return to the city to kill two birds with one stone. With Johnson on his way to LS by plane from the East Coast, Tenpenny and Pulaski would take the opportunity to ensure that their new recruit, Jimmy Hernandez, remained loyal and silent by ordering him to kill Ralph Pendlebury after kidnapping him and bringing him to the ocean docks for execution.
Passenger, show us your hand. Stop. Get down on your knees. Now down on your stomach. There you go. I'll take that, Hernandez.
Hey, that's my paper, man. That's money.
This is drug money.
My money, man.
Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fill it out later.
Welcome home, Carl. Glad to be back. You haven't forgotten about us, have you, boy?
Hell no, Officer Tenpenny. I was just wondering what took y'all so long.
Get in the car.
Ease up, man. Damn.
Watch your head. Oh, my bad.
Get out of here, you greaseball bastard! Stupid Mexican. Oh, hey, sorry.
My bag. Hey, man, my bag.
Not 10 minutes later, the C.R.A.S.H trio would intercept the taxi of Carl Johnson on its way back to Grove Street from the airport, and proceed to strip Carl of his cash, dignity, and luggage, before framing him for the death of Ralph Pendlebury and dumping him in hostile gang territory.
So what else you got shaking, Carl?
Nothing. I live in Liberty City now. I'm clean. Legit.
Nah, you ain't never been clean, Carl.
Well, what do we got here?
This is a weapon, Officer Pulaski, that was used to gun down a police officer not 10 minutes ago. Officer Pendlebury. A fine man, I might add. You work fast, nigga.
You know I just got off the plane.
Well, that's a good thing we found you and retrieved the murder weapon.
That ain't my gun.
Don't bullshit me, Carl.
Yeah, don't bullshit him, Carl.
What the fuck you want from me this time?
When we want you, we'll find you. In the meantime, try not to gun down any more officers of the law.
Y'all can't leave me here. This baller's country.
I thought you said you was innocent, Carl. But you don't bang.
This is car 58.
See you around like a donut,
What?
Carl.
Officer Pendlebury's down.
Tenpenny would have Hernandez warn Johnson not to leave town, and effectively place the former Grove Street OG directly in their pocket for use in the future. With Johnson now informally working for C.R.A.S.H under the threat of being framed for Pendlebury's murder, Tenpenny would return to exercising his power and authority over the gangs of Los Santos, and enjoy torturing Johnson specifically as he continued to work with Big Smoke and Ryder behind the Johnson brothers' backs. Tenpenny would tip off Johnson and Ryder to the arrival of a train containing weapons in an effort to even the odds and avoid any single gang becoming too dominant in the city, and even demand drugs from Ryder's own personal stash. He would tip off Big Smoke to rival startup drug operations, who in turn hired CJ to help in taking the prospective players down, and later warned Smoke of a group of San Fierro Rifa meeting with Los Santos Vagos at Unity Station to broker a new deal, which also threatened Tenpenny's operation.
Hey, Carl. Keeping busy, I hope.
You know me, Officer Tenpenny.
Yeah, I know you, Carl. I know everything about you.
Don't touch me, you pig hands.
That's right, Carl. I got my eye on you.
And? Like I give a fuck.
We're watching you, Carl.
Motherfucker!
Despite technically being most closely aligned with the Ballas, Tenpenny would also unintentionally use Johnson to prevent them from becoming too large for their own good, and possibly threatening his own power when he warns Big Smoke of a threat in the Russian Mafia arriving in Los Santos, and later directly hires Carl to intercept and stop a major weapons deal between the Russians and the Ballas' leadership.
What's happening?
Don't try to hit me up with that ghetto babble, boy.
Officer Tenpenny, how you get my number?
Ways and means, you piece of shit. You been trying to avoid me?
No, sir. I just been busy, that's all.
You're not busy unless you're doing something for us, you understand?
Yeah. Loud and clear.
Nice to hear it, Carl. Call in to the donut place in the middle of Market. We need to talk.
Carl!
Damn.
Where are you off to?
Shit.
Where you running off to, Carl? I thought we were friends.
Yeah, whatever.
As an officer in charge of putting an end to gang violence, I find myself in a difficult moral position, Carl.
Yeah, right.
Carl, I'm hurt. I truly am. And just as I was about to help those poor Grove Street boys.
Oh yeah? How?
I like the status quo, Carl. I like having all you bastards doing my job for me, blowing each other's guts all over the side.
Dumb bastards.
Now, if it's brought to my attention that one tribe gets an unfair advantage over another, that truly troubles me, Carl.
So what you saying, man?
I'm saying the ballers have brains, Carl. They watch the news. I'm saying they're making friends, cutting deals, and tooling up for more than half-assed drive-bys. Lots of cheap guns coming into America since the fall of the wall, Carl.
Man, cut that bullshit, Tenpenny. Just say what you mean, man.
Go check out a busy freight warehouse down the Docklands and you'll see what I mean, Carl.
Yeah, okay.
Y'all take care now.
For sure.
He would also force Carl to deal with another gangbanger causing trouble for C.R.A.S.H's agenda by forcing him to burn down a building in northeast Ellis Vago territory, which Carl successfully does, before finally discovering the truth about Tenpenny's role in his mother's death through his friend and Varios Los Aztecas leader, Cesar Villalpando.
Just watch, homie.
What the fuck? Oh, no. Shit, Smoke, what you into?
Shh, that's it. Look at that ride.
That's the motherfucking Green Saber. Shit, Smoke? C.R.A.S.H making you sell us out? Moms!
Sorry, Issy. I heard a rumor and poked around. I didn't believe it myself, but...
Nah, you did the right thing.
Tenpenny would organize another attempt at having Sweet Johnson killed or arrested, and this time be successful, when he likely tips off the Ballas gang leadership to an upcoming plan by Grove Street to reunite their fractured group, which had split into several factions following Carl Johnson's departure in the mid-1980s, and the rise of crack cocaine in Los Santos' poorer neighborhoods. Both Sweet and Carl would be captured and arrested under the Mullihan intersection, and using his power of jurisdiction as head of C.R.A.S.H, Tenpenny would personally pick up Carl and drive him all the way out to Flint County, to maintain control of the situation now that Johnson knew of his former friend's true allegiances, and therefore represented a threat to Tenpenny's criminal dominion.
You got a bag over your head, boy. How you feel about that?
Man, take it off! Please, man! I can't breathe, please!
Oh, all right, but only because you said please.
You fucking sick motherfucker!
Intimidate those who intimidate others, Carl. It's my job. Right, Ed?
Yeah.
Hey, man, where we at?
The middle of fucking nowhere. Nice, clean air.
Fucking Smoke. Oh, sweet!
Sweeter's alive. Alive and inside. He's in a prison hospital, being treated for gunshot wounds. Awaiting trial.
Yeah. Somehow nobody's caught you yet.
Oh yeah, you should be glad, Carl. Your moron brother's alive, your street trash soon-to-be turned-out sister's alive, and she's only sucking one greaseball's dick. Things are going pretty well for you, Carl. So behave, nigga.
We want you to do a little favor for us, Carl.
With evidence and pressure building against Tenpenny and his fellow C.R.A.S.H officers, Frank would relocate Carl to Angel Pine, Flint County, and task Carl with eliminating an ex-police officer in the Witness Protection Program under guard by the FBI near Mount Chiliad. The witness, who apparently had incriminating evidence against Tenpenny, who was now being actively investigated at every turn, would be killed by Carl shortly after his arrival in Angel Pine, and Tenpenny would slowly begin to relax again, but his respite from pursuit wouldn't last long at all. With testimony on the streets and increasing scrutiny from his fellow officers, Tenpenny would remain calm as a cucumber, even in the face of a San Andreas district attorney beginning an investigation into C.R.A.S.H, which Frank planned to deal with by once again using the services of Carl Johnson, whom he now had even more leverage on with Carl's brother in jail, and the murder of Ralph Pendlebury still dangling over the younger Johnson brothers' head. Tenpenny would hire the conspiracy nut and marijuana cultivator known only as The Truth, and order Johnson to pay for an enormous shipment of weed, which Carl would plant on the DA at a later date to ruin his career.
Check this shit out. What do we have here?
Yo, Carl. What up, kid?
Hey, what's happening? Oh, is this undercover training? Oh, no, you must be off duty.
Yeah, whatever. Hush up, man. Mr. Truth here is going to be supplying you with some of the finest weed, and you are going to deliver it for us.
Hey, man, you losing it. You hallucinating this shit.
What? Oh. Yo, Truth, come here, man.
Welcome, friend.
What's up?
Carl here is gonna be paying you your money.
What you talking about?
Now, Carl, I got a real do-gooder fucking with me, and I want you to take this evil green poison and drop it on him. It's gonna ruin that asshole's career.
Ah, bullshit.
Dudes, you want mushrooms, loons? How about some DMT?
No, not for me, man. I got a jet. Whew, shit. I'm fucked up. Yo, Carl, pay the man.
When the time came for Carl to collect the shipment of weed from The Truth, it's possible Tenpenny attempted to have Truth, and possibly Johnson, although it's likely had Johnson been arrested he would have again been let loose, arrested, and collect the order while also taking the money that Carl had paid Truth for it. With Carl's assistance, however, the two would escape the Truth's farm and burn all evidence of his former crop, with Johnson conveniently moving to San Fierro afterwards, following his effective exile from Los Santos, and Tenpenny apparently deciding to leave Truth alone while he worried about bigger fish that needed frying. It isn't known for a certainty that it was Frank himself who ratted out the Truth's farm, given the potentially negative ramifications for his own agenda, but given that he was the only known officer at the time who was even aware of the Truth and his secretive farm, it seems entirely likely that Tenpenny intended to squeeze every ounce of usefulness out of the aging hippie before disposing of him when he was no longer relevant.
What the fuck's that noise?
Hey, that sound like a chopper.
Oh, man. Narcs. You fucking rat.
Dude, don't put that on me. You the one deal with Tenpenny.
Tenpenny would continue to oversee the operations of Big Smoke and the Loco Syndicate running drugs between San Fierro and LS, while Johnson covertly worked with his new allies to slowly undermine the syndicate and infiltrate it from the inside. Eventually, the time would come to have Carl plant the weed he'd obtained from Truth on the DA, and for once, Tenpenny would barely need to manipulate Carl into doing his dirty work at all, when Johnson learns that the target he will be snitching on is a district attorney.
Hey, motherfucker, the code of the streets is that I don't snitch. I don't give a fuck if it kills you, me, my brother. Street cats don't call no cops.
Carl, he's a DA.
Oh, yeah? Well, where I go find him?
He's at the Vankoff Hotel in the Financial.
Oh, for sure.
Carl would pose as a valet for the Vankoff Hotel and steal the DA's car in order to plant the marijuana inside, and promptly phone 555 We Tip, who dispatch officers and arrest another one of Tenpenny's multiplying enemies.
Police, don't move! Get out of the car with your hands in the air! Do you know who you're fucking with here? I'll have your badge, you moron.
Shut up! You find anything back there?
Found anything? He's got half of Mexico in here. Must be 2 tons of Mary here.
What? But I've never seen. How could it be?
Hell of a defense you got there, buddy.
With the media unable to ignore the mounting calls of conspiracy and mysterious circumstances surrounding seemingly every person who tried to speak out against C.R.A.S.H., Tenpenny would be forced to send Carl after an aspiring news journalist who had supposedly obtained hard evidence against Frank's partner, Eddie Pulaski. Once again, Carl would follow Tenpenny's orders without a choice in the matter, and follow the journalist from Cranberry Station all the way to Santa Maria Beach to kill both him and a second journalist whom he was meeting.
What y'all want this time?
Well, what we want is to get on with our jobs in peace without some damn bleeding heart liberal poking his nose into affairs he won't even understand.
The press on the
What the hell would you know about it, boy?
Whoa, easy there, Eddie. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Some young journalist out there is trying to get a name for himself.
He doesn't know how the streets work. That he's supposed to report what he's supposed to report.
Yeah, anyway, we need you to shut him up for us.
And that Stooley. Shut him up, too.
Yeah, there's some reporter who's digging up dirt on Pulaski. We don't know who's talking, but we know the reporter's meeting him today.
Take care of him.
Oh, this is a nice place, Carl.
Although Johnson would manage to kill the journalist for Tenpenny, on top of ruining the DA's career and killing an ex-police officer, none of it would be quite enough to keep Tenpenny and the rest of C.R.A.S.H. out of hot water. After months of attempting to lay low and avoid further controversy following Carl's dismantling of the San Fierro end of Big Smoke's and by proxy his drug operation, he and Pulaski would learn of a secretive meeting meant to take place out in the desert of Bone County between the DEA and FBI, both looking to find solid evidence against C.R.A.S.H. Either no longer concerned primarily with his income through the now shrinking Los Santos drug operation, or perhaps more concerned with pressing matters, Tenpenny would once again hire Carl to intercept the meet and kill everyone involved, while also obtaining the dossier being held by one of the agents containing damning evidence against him.
I'm sure you'll find some way to keep your badge. Your kind always do.
You still don't get it, do you, Carl? This ain't about keeping some fucking badge.
Hey, listen to the man.
We all the same, Carl. You, me. We all trying to pull ourselves out of the hole. Somebody steps on me, I gotta step on you.
Where's Hernandez with that fucking meat? He's been gone too long, Tenpenny.
Getting a little edgy, fellas?
Oh! How you like that, you piece of shit? That give you any idea how edgy I am?
Whoa!
Get up, bitch! You paying attention? Now there's a ruined town out west of here. Aldea Malvada. And there's some piece of shit DEA officer meeting with an FBI agent with a dossier. Now you get the dossier and you make both of them disappear.
As reliable as ever when it came to killing, Johnson would, amazingly, manage to do just what he was asked yet again, and kill numerous highly skilled government agents to obtain the dossier for Frank, before being told to meet up at a ghost town in Bone County called Las Brujas, to covertly pass the files on to C.R.A.S.H. for disposal. Having been doing a fair bit of snooping of his own, however, Tenpenny's true motivations for meeting in such a remote location would reveal themselves when he violently assaults fellow C.R.A.S.H. officer Jimmy Hernandez for apparently being the one responsible for Frank's constant scrutiny by the government and the media. Tenpenny would order Pulaski to deal with the situation while he fled the scene, intending for both Johnson and Hernandez to be buried in the empty desert and forgotten, once again absolving Frank's responsibility by destroying the evidence.
You sold us out! Time to dig, Carl. You take care of things.
Huh? Where are you going?
To get drunk and get laid. You got a problem with that?
No, Frank, relax.
Good. I'll see you back at the precinct. And I'll see you in the next life, Carl.
When Johnson manages to turn the tables on Pulaski, however, and even kill the one man who may have considered Frank their friend, even if the feeling wasn't mutual, Tenpenny is forced to flee back to Los Santos to attempt damage control, but the disappearance of Pulaski sparks enough media sensationalism to force Tenpenny into panic mode as the court system loomed over him. Finally, a trial would be organized against C.R.A.S.H, but most prominently Frank himself, and the now missing Officer Pulaski. Despite the walls seemingly closing in on him, Tenpenny would be found not guilty, along with the rest of C.R.A.S.H, likely due to his long career as an officer of the LSPD, and the city of Los Santos' unwillingness to punish the police who break their own laws, and walk away from the courthouse a free man with a new plan.
Oh wait, they're exiting the courtroom now.
That bastard Pulaski will probably turn up dead just like the rest of them.
In light of the lack of evidence against my client, the district attorney's office has seen fit to drop all charges against this innocent man.
That's bullshit.
You see? You can't trust the system, man.
This surprise decision is wholly unprecedented.
Oh man, ain't no justice. It's just
No, I've been arrested numerous times for totally natural behavior.
Los Santos will burn tonight.
Ain't nobody gonna be riding in my hood.
I don't know about that, Holmes. Look, the whole city's going up. People are fucking pissed off about this.
People don't know what they want. We all being used.
You see, man, it's always the same, friend. Power systems corrupt everyone.
Look, I said we gonna secure the hood. We ain't getting shit together so some idiot can burn it down.
Tenpenny would begin preparations to get his affairs in order and flee the city of Los Santos as it erupted into utter chaos following his not guilty verdict, which sparked mass protest and anger across the poorer gang-controlled parts of the city and even beyond. No longer primarily concerned with Johnson and instead prioritizing saving his own life, Tenpenny would ambush Carl just as he finished pushing his way through Big Smoke's crack palace in East Los Santos and force him to fill a briefcase with cash for Tenpenny's escape before attempting to kill him where he stood.
Carl Johnson, my man. I need you to do me another favor. You kill Pulaski, now this fat fuck? There's no stopping you. Drop the gun.
You ain't leaving here alive, man.
Where's your brother at, huh?
Why you just didn't shoot me in the back? Feeling exposed, huh?
Shut your dumb ass up and load the bag. Come on, let's go. I ain't got time to fuck with you.
So what it's like, Tenpenny, huh? All alone? Nobody got your back? Suck, huh?
Why you think I'm alone? I got a couple of rookies outside. But I gotta open their eyes slowly, you know. Little truth here, little truth there. Alright, fuck it, that's enough. Chuck it over. I got a fire truck to catch.
You crazy, man. Lost it. You gone.
Half the city's looking for cops to kill, Carl. And I ain't about to get dragged out of a patrol car and get beat to death by some angry mob. No, not tonight.
What you catching? A plane?
Ding, 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 ding! Good answer, Carl! You know, you're gonna thank me one day for opening your fucking eyes. Oh, I almost forgot, Carl. Time to die.
Sweet!
What? Mother... It ain't over, Carl! It ain't over!
With quick thinking, Carl would manage to stay alive as Tenpenny fled the building to board a fire truck outside and reach Los Santos International Airport. But a now free Sweet Johnson would run after Frank's escaping vehicle, clambering aboard the truck using the fire ladder. Carl would catch up to the truck and save his brother, and the two would chase Frank all across Los Santos before he finally made his last wrong move and lost control of his truck on the Ganton Bridge just above the Grove Street cul-de-sac. Frank Tenpenny would crash into the street below and suffer fatal injuries, dying from his wounds shortly after. A legacy of death, corruption, and abuse had finally come to an end, and a city, all in unison, seemed to almost rejoice.
Come on, assholes! I'll take you all! You're mine! Mine! I run this town! Hey! Over here! Hey! Officer down, come on! Hey! Assholes! You never understood what I did. 50 of me, and this town would be okay. I took the trash out. I did. And I'd do it all again.
In the hours that followed, as the riot subsided, his body was picked clean by looters and mutilated, likely by the many people of Central LS whose lives he'd terrorized for so long.
See you around, officer.
Frank Tenpenny was a violent, manipulative, and downright sadistic man with an intense god complex, to the point of believing his own hype all the way up to his dying breath. Never missing an opportunity to make others feel small, exercise his authority, and remain in control, Frank was among the most hated but feared individuals in Los Santos at the height of his influence as an LSPD officer, and the head of their C.R.A.S.H division. He was arrogant, rude, and seemingly indifferent to the suffering of all others, even rejecting any possible friendships with his fellow officers by always making it clear who was in charge and what their role was to him. While it is alleged that Frank was married, it is our speculation that even if Tenpenny was, he likely did not spend much time with his family, and may have even found fulfillment by other illicit means given his own lack of objections to partaking in the drugs he himself made a living off of selling and arresting others for consuming. In fact, it could be argued that Frank was, on top of everything we've already mentioned, a drug addict, as he was known to steal samples of hard drugs such as PCP, or water, from Lance Ryder Wilson, as well as lighter drugs such as marijuana, which while less addictive, he still consumed while on duty, making his already questionable judgment as a police officer even more suspect. Frank was also fond of manipulating Carl Johnson in particular, whom his partner Eddie Pulaski had wished to kill on several occasions, but whom Tenpenny spared not out of a respect for Carl, but out of a desire to remain in charge in every situation, clearly enjoying his ability to toy with Johnson on numerous occasions due to the leverage he held over him. A true psychopath, however, it is clear that Frank Tenpenny never cared for any single human being that wasn't himself, and even Carl would eventually outgrow his usefulness to the officer, at which point he attempted to have him killed, like everyone else before. Many even believe that Eddie Pulaski, had he not been killed by Johnson himself, would have eventually fallen at Frank's hands, due to his seemingly lack of any empathy and single-minded determination to remain in control of his life and the lives of whoever else he saw fit. Frank Tenpenny was willing to murder, fabricate evidence, burn down buildings, and even kill fellow police officers and government agents, all just to keep himself clean, and effectively served as a gang leader for the most corrupt elements of the LSPD for the entire duration of his leadership. While he claimed publicly, even to himself, to be motivated by taking out the trash and having a no-nonsense approach to handling gang violence by encouraging them to kill each other, Frank's true motivations, we speculate, were far more sinister and self-serving. In truth, Tenpenny had chosen to align himself with the gangs of Los Santos who facilitated his drug habits and corrupted morals, allowing himself to grow rich off the work of others, all the while exercising absolute authority over anyone who tried to stand in his way, be they gangbanger or police officer. Up to this point, every single person we have examined on GTA Biographies has shown at least some surface-level emotional empathy towards at least one other person in their lives, and while we remain uncertain as to the details of much of Tenpenny's personal life, at least given what we know, he may be the most purely psychotic and perhaps even evil individual we have yet examined on this series. Frank Tenpenny was an African-American man believed to be in his mid to late 40s at the time of his death. He was of average build and throughout his career, possibly his entire adult life, shaved his head bald, while maintaining a simple mustache. He was relatively tall, being just slightly shorter than Carl Johnson, and was an overall intimidating presence, not necessarily because of his size, but his badge and his reputation as a ruthless man. Given that almost nothing is truly known about Frank's private life, he was effectively never seen outside of his uniform, and as such maintained an air of superiority at all times, thanks in part to the gun he constantly had at his hip. A common story here on GTA Biographies, the true extent of crime committed by Frank Tenpenny remains highly speculated. When one considers that he served with the LSPD for decades, and as the head of C.R.A.S.H for many years on top of that, and given what we know about Tenpenny's violent and ruthless attitude, it can be safely said that however many crimes we can confirm he was responsible for, the true numbers could be tenfold, and will likely never be known. All this being said, let's examine what crimes we do know he committed, which almost exclusively come from his time in C.R.A.S.H in 1992, due to the subsequent trial and media-released information. Abusing the authority of an LSPD officer. Selling and distributing drugs by proxy through Melvin Big Smoke Harris. Threatening a fellow police officer with death if he did not comply. The attempted murder of Sweet Johnson on his orders. The unintentional murder of Beverly Johnson on his orders. The murder of Ralph Pendlebury on his orders. Framing Carl Johnson for the murder of Ralph Pendlebury. Conspiracy drug dealing when tipping off Big Smoke to a deal in East Los Santos. Conspiracy weapon dealing when tipping off Big Smoke to a deal by the Russian Mafia. Conspiracy accessory murder when tipping off Big Smoke to a meeting between the San Fierro Rifa and the Los Santos Vagos. Conspiracy accessory murder and weapon dealing when tipping off Ryder and Carl to a shipment coming in by train. Conspiracy arson when ordering CJ to burn down a house in East Los Santos. Conspiracy accessory murder when ordering Johnson to intercept a meeting between the Russians and the Ballas. Illegally freeing Carl Johnson following his arrest at Mullihan for his own purposes. Conspiracy accessory murder when ordering Carl to kill an ex-police officer in witness protection. Conspiracy distribution, drug dealing, and sabotage when ordering Carl Johnson to plant evidence on a district attorney. Accessory murder when ordering Johnson to plant the evidence and Carl kills a valet. Conspiracy accessory murder when ordering Johnson to follow and kill 2 journalists. Conspiracy accessory murder and destroying evidence when ordering Carl to obtain a dossier from the FBI and DEA. Accessory murder of Jimmy Hernandez. Conspiracy accessory attempted murder of Carl Johnson. The second attempted murder of Carl Johnson. Dangerously driving a fire truck through the streets of Los Santos. The legacy of corruption and death that Frank Tenpenny left on the city of Los Santos, and to a certain extent the whole state of San Andreas, can never be truly washed away. While Tenpenny represents the very worst of the worst where crooked cops are concerned, his ability to reach the position he did, and the fact that he was even exonerated following his trial, and that he never truly saw justice by the powers that be, just goes to show how badly the authorities of San Andreas were in the 1990s, and some argue still are in modern times. There may never be another better example of just how absolute power corrupts a man. What allows a man to live so callously and indifferent to the suffering of others in America? We may never know the answer, but it is this reporter's humble opinion that men like Frank Tenpenny must never be allowed to represent our otherwise glorious and not at all corrupt American institutions in any meaningful capacity. America is a dangerous place, folks, and it's because of men like this that we only live in anticipation of a better world to come, rather than the utopian democratic ideal we know our land deserves to be. Stay indoors, people. You never know if that cop that helped an old lady cross the street is actually a functional maniac prepared to ticket you for giving him the stink eye. I'll see you next time on another exciting edition of GTA Biographies, for a closer look at another man caught up in the corruption of the 90s West Coast drug scene and his tragic but inevitable downfall. I'm your host, Guinness Walker. Thank you for watching.